we continue our real estate tour with a trip to San Francisco, where despite job losses and a decline in population, the average price of a single-family home rose 16.5% last year. What is going on there? This is Gino Blafari, founder, president, and CEO of Intero Real Estate Services. If I got that right, you're supposed to be the hottest real estate firm in the Bay Area, sir. Thank you for coming on. There's a supply shortage, isn't there? Isn't that a big part of it? From one of the news clips, the Bay Area Council, it's a pro-business think tank, says at least a 36,000 unit deficit now, and it could be 300,000 in 5 years.
Yes, absolutely. It's been our prices have been driven a lot by supply, the lack of supply.
Well, let's explain to people. Let's say I had called you 4 years ago. .com starting to really fall apart. Everybody getting real scared. I think a lot of people, when we're doing this series, they say, oh, these guys are always bullish. I mean, if I called you, would you say, hey, look, there's a big glut, so if you can handle it for a couple of years, you'd be okay?
Yeah, I think if, back then, I would not expected what happened, okay? Silicon Valley, we lost over 200,000 jobs. We had unemployment at, 9%. The NASDAQ went down 50%, and prices still went up. Go figure.
Well, actually, unemployment has come way down. In the Bay Area, it's now 4.1%. That includes all the surrounding counties. But let me I want to go back to this supply shortage. Restrictive state environment codes, reluctance to convert commercially zoned land into residential. This is from the day after Christmas in the San Fran Chronicle. So there's a regulatory problem, I guess.
Absolutely.
But how do you solve that, or how do you otherwise? Because that's driving the prices. Right. It's not a bubble. It's it's a supply shortage. Markets work.
Yeah, it certainly is a supply shortage, and there is a scarcity too. There's unlimited. There's not an unlimited amount of land available.
Right. See, that's why I think we've had a lot of people on, and they kept pointing to Las Vegas as the area that was the precursor. But you can build on the four corners of Las Vegas, but you can't build everywhere in San Francisco. Sir, can you give us a sense or whether people are buying homes right now, putting no money down? I know an emailer from we're getting more email on this thing than anything else we've ever done. An emailer from San Diego tells me a lot of guys are putting no money down to buy a house, that's the kind of speculation. So people taking down 2-3 houses at a time because they're not putting money down. You've seen that kind of activity.
Yeah, we see that to a smaller extent. What you see is maybe the first-time home buyer with very little money down. But I think what kind of drives the prices here in the Bay Area is the homeowner that has lived in the home and has realized their appreciation has essentially, on the average, 45% equity in their home. And they haven't even lived there all that long. That allows them to buy another home. You look at our affordability indexes, in the teens, maybe 14% of the people could actually afford to buy a home. But that's always based on putting 20% down and all the typical buyer of a home. Here, people are moving up and they're coming in with a tremendous amount of equity from their previous home.
Well, Gino, let's look at prices for a second. I mean, are we just talking San Fran City? Are we talking Marin County? Are we talking?
I'm talking San Francisco Bay Area.
So that includes how much? What's the sweep of that statement?
That includes down to south of San Jose and maybe north of San Francisco, grabbing the East Bay out to Danville and Black Hawk. The entire Bay Area. If you take a circle around the Bay and go down to San Francisco, down to San Jose, and probably up just as high into Marin.
Well, can you talk about what some of our guests in this series we're doing have been talking about infilling, talking about how there's some areas that maybe 10, 15 years ago might not have been that attractive that are now being snapped up. Are there areas that when I lived out in California in the 70s and 80s, that I would have been afraid to go to certain neighborhoods? Are those neighborhoods now coming back?
Sure. That would happen more in perhaps like East San Jose, where you might have been afraid to go out into East San Jose. And now there's new developments out there in a whole new area called Silver Creek, which is, a high-end country club community right out there in San Jose. And you have to drive by the poorer parts of San Jose to get there. And, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you certainly wouldn't have considered being out there.
Well, putting aside newspapers, think tanks, economists, and the whole 9 yards, you're there on the firing line. What does your belly computer tell you about home prices in the next couple, 3 years?
Next couple, 3 years, from the gut, I'd say we'd see modest increases in prices. Not in the teens. We saw 15% or so last year. I think maybe around the 5%.
Oh.
That's still, I mean, I'm not hearing anything that causes trepidation. And yet, the intellectuals, the intelligentsia, has told me that this man is, why he's facilitating the bubble. But anyway, Mr. Gino Blafari, founder, president, CEO of Intero Real Estate Services, thank you so much for coming on our show.
Thank you, guys. Happy to be here.
Lawrence, someone is going to come on our show who is a theoretician, and he's going to say all of these people who are working in the trenches have no idea what they're talking about, and people at home are going to have to make up their mind who's right.
See, I like that. I think macroeconomists are trying to steal housing as their issue, and it's not their issue. It's a bottoms-up issue. It's neighborhood by neighborhood, and it depends on whether you can build or not.
Yeah, it is. It's a much more artificial market than people recognize.
It's not just interest rates.
I say bring on more. This is the series that has gotten more email than anything else we've ever done on Kudlow and Kramer. Let's bring on some more real estate. Next, chemical sector outlook. Later, we do some more economic forecasting. We